Hi. In this video, I'll share a few of the things from this course by Nathan Fowkes over on Schoolism. Now, this is not an ad. I won't be telling you whether you should put your money into these classes or not. They're cool, but yeah, there's other cool stuff out there, and I don't know which one is right for you. So my idea is to take the course, which is approximately 15 hours, and to sum it up for you. Color. I was always confused about color. I kinda didn't like it, at least in my work, and I think that came from a few misunderstandings. First off, I thought, what's the point understanding color if I want things to look convincing or real? I wasn't talking about photorealism, just semi-realism, and I thought, if something is this color, then I'll paint it this color, and that's it. For example, a person, why would I want to stylize images using color and make a person say blue because, I don't know, their chair happens to be orange? Even for painting fantasy, I thought, why would I want to manipulate the colors according to a set of rules instead of just doing what feels right, you know? And the answer to that is, well, we do want things to feel right, and when they don't, it might actually have to do with the colors and the principles behind choosing good colors. The idea that opposite colors interact well with one another, this kind of stuff seemed absurd to me. Why would opposite colors do that? And aren't people sick of movie posters doing the same blue-orange all the time? I thought doing color harmonies would make my work less original, and that it would prevent me from using my own intuition to find original, unique color schemes. I never put this aversion of colors into words, but looking back, it was this sort of attitude I had that kept me from taking a closer look at color theory. The other reason why I didn't think much about it is that every time somebody mentioned color theory, whatever they said was way too vague, too simplistic for me to take it seriously. Because if someone tells me, okay, these are the major color schemes, you can have analogous colors, complementary, split complementary, triadic, whatever, my natural answer to that is, why should I care? Are paintings really going to be better if you follow a color scheme? How do you use these color schemes if you're painting a realistic scene that already has its own color? When does a color scheme make your art better, and when does it make your art just like everything else, repetitive and unoriginal? And I will not point fingers here, but there are some extremely popular artists out there who do abuse certain color schemes, and so I've always felt a certain about their work. It's good for them that it works, but I just wouldn't want my own art to look like that. And by this, I simply mean that even if an artist is better than me, that doesn't mean I want to make the same kind of art. It's something completely unrelated. And lastly, the most confusing part of color theory is about primary and secondary colors. And this one, I'm afraid, it doesn't have the redeeming qualities that the other principles have. When I was in primary school, it was red, blue, and yellow. And some people said red, blue, and green, and it just made me think they're stupid. Why green? Anyway. So at the time, I assumed that with red, blue, yellow, and white and black, I could create any color under the sun, and that's simply wrong. But when did I realize it's wrong? I realized this many years into my art career, that's when. So that rule about primary colors, it also implied that you cannot get these primary colors by mixing other colors, which is wrong as well. You can get blue by mixing green and violet. The problem is your blue will have less intensity than the original colors. So now you could argue that you can't mix other colors and make good blue. However, the exact same happens when you mix blue and yellow, which are two so-called primary colors. You get a weaker version of green. That's why artists who use traditional paints buy a whole array of colors, not just the three primary ones. And so I say, do yourself a favor and just forget about primary and secondary colors, and just remember the thing about colors losing their intensity when mixed. It might help you understand why sometimes colors that start out as bright and saturated come out looking muddy when you use them. So yeah, this principle of primary and secondary colors it just doesn't work. But now what about color schemes and color harmony? So here's the answer I found in this course. Not every object has a set color, and sometimes you have to make the choice between 2 or 3 million different colors, unless you're colorblind. And as an artist, you have other complex decisions you will have to make as well, such as lighting and composition. So in all that inevitable confusion, these color schemes are like a map that can guide you to where a nice color might be waiting for you, depending on what you already have. To give some additional guidance, the course author Nathan Fowkes says that the choosing process can be broken down into just color value, and this is how bright or dark your thing is, and color temperature. This means whether it's yellow, orange, reddish, or green, blue, violet-ish. So perhaps start there and decide only how warm or cold you want something to be before you go into more advanced color picking. So like I said, for a person, sure, they will have a set color, but what about a lamp? You can change the color of a lamp without anyone minding, without your image looking less real. So why would you change the color of a lamp then? Well, the thing is, color harmonies do in fact work. Our brains actually dig this stuff, and that's why every single artwork you like has one form or another of color harmony. And this doesn't mean you should start your painting by shoving in proportionate amounts of opposite colors. No, quite the opposite. The way I see it, your painting has colors you cannot change and colors you can change. So if you're painting your cat, you probably shouldn't make it this color or this color. You want it to be a realistic cat. And let's say you want her eyes to be yellow because that's how they are in reality. So you have as much yellow as you have eyes and as much brown as you have cat. No choice there. So then what next? Well, understanding color harmony tells us that if you want to balance your scene, you might want to go in this direction or this direction. And that doesn't mean you put this color down and that's it. It also doesn't mean that you need a certain quantity of this stuff. In fact, even the most desaturated of colors can work, and that's often what makes your saturated colors actually pop. Saturation alone doesn't make you think colorful, it makes you think pain and discomfort. And of course, artwork can work with a reduced color scheme, even monochrome is perfectly fine in terms of color balance. So you can keep your palette limited, or you can expand it just a little, or you can expand it more, or even more. Or you can use all the colors, or you can use extreme separate colors. Or just go with dull colors or extremely dull ones. And so how do you choose between all those options? The question is simply, what mood do you want to convey? Different color schemes go with different moods, and so in a way, color harmonies is what helps you find the colors you need to create the mood that you want. And when you narrow things down like that, you realize that out of 3 million different choices, you can pretty much narrow it down to a few. Something very reasonable, something you can actually make an educated guess as to which one is best. But now let's say you're as confused as I was when I thought about mood. Like, yes, I knew mood was a thing, but I didn't think of it as something I would create intentionally. Rather, I pretty much thought, well, if I paint something dark, it will naturally look dark. I don't have to look for how to set a dark mood. If I paint a happy scene, it will naturally look happy. If I paint an action scene, it will naturally look dynamic, and yes, it does work that way, like until it doesn't. And that's the thing, when you don't think actively about these principles, you end up with artwork that doesn't work, and you won't know why and where to go from there. Like, did you ever paint a happy scene and it looked depressing? And you thought maybe let's add brighter, more saturated colors, but it still didn't work? And it ended up looking fake and patched up and muddy. You can have plenty of happy accidents when you don't know the principles of good color, but you can't rely always on accidents. I used to think, okay, I'm bad with colors, and that was that. But seeing colors is something you learn simply by focusing your attention on them. So the last time you watched a movie or played a game, were you thinking about the colors you were seeing? Probably not, but you could have. Simply switching your attention to color is already going to make a difference. Even right now, if you look at your painting and focus exclusively on color, you will see mistakes that otherwise you would not see if you were looking at your artwork and focusing on, let's say, anatomy or values or something else. Alright, let's take a look to one of my favorite splash art illustrations from League. This is a semi-realistic artwork of a fantasy world that has magic, robots, creatures, pop stars, and this, so the colors could literally be anything. And for a second, just imagine the colors here were completely random. On such a weird, intricate design, like, it would be hard to understand what is what. So, what colors do is they allow you to group stuff. For example, in this area, all the colors are warm. The gray walls only catch warm light from here, and so this place is unified. If it wasn't unified, we wouldn't even know if this is a part of the character or not, due to how complex the design already is. Now, let's take a look at the character's outfit. We're going to ignore the skin tones on his arm because that's to remind people that he's human. So what else do we see? A golden prosthetic arm and gold accents on his outfit, a white mask, white weapon, yellowish cloak with some brownish details, black glove and pants. In short, we see a lot of unity. From fully desaturated black or white areas to desaturated yellow and brown, and then to gold. Anyone can do this, right? So, as Nathan Fowkes repeats maybe 100 times in the course, this principle is called unity with variety. It's not variety with unity because that sounds bad, and I suppose there's a bit more unity than variety in every good painting. Like here as well. So we have our unity. And next, to add variety, we have the violet accents on the collar, the underside of his cloak, and the vegetation here to balance the image. If we had no violet leaves, the focus would be too heavy on the character as being the only violet thing, and the leaves help to balance the image by countering that. So it's good to have a strong focus, but once you have it, there's no need to push it even further, make it stronger, because then why bother to paint the rest of the picture? So what we need is balance, that way people can look at the focal point of the image and then slowly move their eyes across the entire picture and discover all the details. In short, what we need is unity and a reasonable amount of variety. And so our main colors are gold and violet, which means that our color scheme is... Wait, what? We don't have one of the major color schemes? I just wasted your time, like color harmony doesn't work, and if your colors are bad, like just go get good. There's no magic trick to it, what you thought there was, huh? Wait, what is this? Why is this green? Oh, this is green? Like, oh, why is this green? This shouldn't be green, like what? So this green here actually brings a lot of balance to the painting. It's counterbalancing that violet. If this was a different color, like, it just wouldn't work the same. And that's where understanding color can help you, because oftentimes you'll be in this situation where your colors just don't click. And you can find one simple thing that you can change and make your art instantly better. So, to give a more practical, down-to-earth example now, Let's say that you are painting a green forest with a blue sky. It's pretty dull and your colors aren't clicking, but what can you do? Like, the forest is green and the sky is blue. Well, you could find a color in between to emphasize your choice to go green and blue for this painting. Or you could try to find the middle ground of your current colors and then find a complementary color to that and implement it in the artwork. Or you could find complementary colors for both of your green and your blue. Or you could make another jump from green to blue and to violet, or from blue to green to yellow. Now, the quantities and saturation levels of these colors will naturally vary, and so a lot of the color choosing process is still down to your instinct. However, to simplify your choices, ask yourself some productive questions. What is the value and the temperature of the color you need? The value is obvious if you understand the value, we won't talk about that now, and the temperature is your choice, whatever fits your scene. Next, you can ask yourself if you have this unity with variety thing in your painting. To unify colors, you can either paint colors that are close to each other, or you can have an unifying factor, such as atmosphere, light, darkness. Desaturated colors, I think, are a lot of artists' favorite way to create unity. Now, as for variety, this is simply a higher contrast. This can be a contrast of hue, a contrast of saturation, or a contrast of value. And I suppose there may very well be other subcategories. And of course, in art there are many other types of contrast, but we're talking about the ones that involve color directly. So yeah, hue, saturation, and value. This rule is pretty much set in stone, that you will have more low contrast, unifying elements in your painting, and then few high contrast, varying elements. Even if you have a lot of high contrast elements in themselves, that can become your unifying factor if you use it a lot in your painting, so you can't really escape this principle by using dramatic colors and contrasts everywhere. Almost always a strong focal point is desirable. In other words, a simple statement of what your painting is about. I mean, just imagine having something here that has more contrasting colors than this area. Or imagine if the gun had more contrast and his feet and this window here. It's easy to make a painting worse. So now, to draw a conclusion, let's sum up how you can improve your understanding of color. First off, just think about it. Become aware of color choices when you look at any artwork or designed item or natural thing. Also, while you are painting, just become aware of colors. Just look at them. Another thing, when you don't know what color to choose, remember the various color relationships to get a closer estimate of which colors might work. Think about the color schemes, and if that's too complex, just ask yourself if your color should be warm or cold. That can be a good starting point. Next, you can take the time to simply play with colors and find what clicks. Just do some abstract artworks where you experiment with different color combinations and find what you like personally. If you're serious about improving, you really should do color studies. Apparently they actually help people. So replicate an image like someone else's artwork, for example, but focus all your attention on the colors they used. It's okay if you get the shapes wrong or if you skip the details or textures or whatever. Just go for the colors and their relationships, the way they interact with each other. And now, lastly, the most important thing you can do to instantly improve your art, like literally instantly improve your art, I'm serious about this stuff, is you can plan your colors. So I will generally start a painting now by creating a very simple, very rough black and white comp. And as early as this stage is, I will create a color layer and I will start adding in the color. I will often discover that some of the values simply don't work, and so I will edit those or paint on top on a normal layer. And by the end, I will have a miniature painting that can serve as a perfect color palette. This is so important actually, as it prevents me from going all the way to an advanced stage only to realize that my image isn't actually working color-wise. It's very easy to try different colors on a sketch like this, and it's much harder to do so on a half-finished painting. So if my color comp looks bad, it will only take me maybe 10 minutes to change it, or like 30 minutes to make a new sketch entirely. And so I can always try again. And if it does look good, then there's little reason why the result should look any worse. Like, you can't make a painting with bad colors if you have something like this to begin with. It's just impossible. How do you manage to do that? And so in the first 30 minutes of your painting, you can actually solve the problem of composition and color and even lighting, and just be done with it, and then you just paint and relax. You can turn your brain off and watch some YouTube videos at the same time if you have 2 monitors or whatever. It's pretty important, and I really hope people watching this actually try it out. And by trying it out, I don't mean that you do it once because this video inspired you and then forget about it. Like actually commit to doing it for a while, and there's really no reason why you should not do this forever. So yeah, maybe do it forever. What do you think? So yeah, this was it. My first video on color. There is so much more that could be discussed on this topic, believe it or not. So I hope that this video made you take it a bit more seriously. Maybe go check what colors your favorite artists use. I don't know. I'll see you next week, I guess, unless something happens, because you never know. And I'm not the most consistent person, but I really try, and I'm really dedicated to this YouTube channel, but like, I don't know, I don't trust myself. I mean, I trust myself, but like, only in a certain way. Like I know that I do what I can to be a good artist, but at the same time, what I do to be a good artist changes every day, so like, okay. Confusion is a thing. Bye.